What are my strengths? I'm highly fascinated by this question. I often see people that don't know this or don't think about this, but also people that think they know. I obviously thought that I knew what I was good at, but last 2 years I've read so much books, I came to realize that I didn't know anything. The books provided me the knowledge that I needed for knowing what I want, but also knowing what I need to do with my life. I came to the conclusion that you need to focus on your strengths, because you really have the most chance of becoming a pro when you're betting on your strengths. Obviously, you're already pretty good at this, you're a little bit talented in this, or you have practiced this more than the rest of your skills in your first 20 years of your life. This is the nature-nurture discussion, but we won't dive into that. For now, it will suffice that you have skills that are more developed than others, and it's more handy to focus on these, because you will be much faster at your goal than when you're focusing on your weaknesses. We live in a society that tends to focus on weaknesses. We are trying to solve anything with a prescription, or we criticize others. And you need to change this or that, or we are condemning ourselves. Is this not a total waste of time? If you want so much, why are you trying to focus on the things that won't give you the highest return on investment? Because what has the highest ROI is always betting on yourself. It's always investing in yourself. You will read this in every book. So rule number 1 is always bet on your strengths. How do you find your strengths? How do you find out what your strengths are? Most people don't know what their strengths are, but they do know what their weaknesses are. And even then, more people are wrong than right. Throughout history, people had little need to know what their strengths were. You didn't need to know this because you wouldn't almost all the time take the job that your father had and your grandfather had before him. For example, the peasant's son would also be a peasant. But now we have choices. We need to know what our strengths are in order to know where we belong. If you know where your strengths are, you have a much bigger chance of knowing your life's task. The only way to discover this is through feedback analysis. What is feedback analysis? Whenever you make a decision or take the action, write down what you expect will happen. So you have to set a goal for yourself for approximately 9 months to 1 year. Of course, it can be as many months as you want, but don't get over 1 year. Peter Drucker is using this method for about 30 years, and it always surprises him. When you practice this simple but useful method consistently for about 2 or maybe 3 years, you will absolutely discover where your strengths lie. You think this is too long, but you just need to work on your strengths that you think you currently possess. Change it after 1 year. When it's different, then change it. And when it's different after 3 years, then again you need to adjust. Always test, learn, and adjust. To be clear, when you do this 3 years, you will have 3 or perhaps 4 goals, but not more. And the feedback analysis will show you where you are failing or lacking and where you flourish. So rule number 2 is practice the method of feedback analysis. After you've set your goals, there are some actions required. First and foremost, concentrate on your strengths. Put yourself through your strengths that can produce results. For example, if you're really good at soccer, you wouldn't practice tennis. That's ridiculous. You wouldn't do that. But in finding out in which job or niche we belong, we absolutely do this. So if you're really good at social intelligence, for example, you obviously need to put yourself into a salesman's shoe. It would be really weird if you're going to study law, because that is more reading of documents than it actually is talking to clients. But this is what I did. I would consider myself as someone who's pretty good in emotional intelligence, and in social circumstances I can really take care of myself. And I also think that I'm good in psychology, but what I found later was that I was mostly interested in how people behave in certain situations and how people buy things. So I quitted law school and started marketing and sales. Second, you need to work on improving your skills in the area of your strengths. You need to improve it. You need to double down on the things you're good at. Invest hours in improving your skills and embrace your weaknesses and don't focus on them. Which brings us to the third action. You need to discover where your intellectual arrogance is causing disabling ignorance and overcome it. What means that far too many people, especially people with great expertise in one area, are ignorant of knowledge in other areas or believe that being bright is a substitute of knowledge, which isn't. Embrace your weakness in this and try to make the best of it. You need to face it with an open and humble mind. So, rule number 3 is master these 3 actions. To completely manage yourself, you need to know what your values are. You finally have to ask, what are my values? What do I value the most? Where do I stand for? Peter calls this the mirror test. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to see in the mirror in the morning? You can lie to your family, to your friends, to your co-workers, or even to your customers, but you can never lie to the man in the mirror. Lying to yourself is mostly the cause of people's unhappiness. I believe that it's based on pride. If you haven't the ability to be proud on yourself, you won't be happy. Values are not only important for yourself, every organization needs values too. And what I will talk about in another book, Built to Last, of Jim Collins, is that core values of a company are the number one reason companies make it to the top. And this is because you know where the company stands for, and the company's employees know this too. This gives clarity to everybody, which gives more results than you ever can imagine. For example, whether a business should be run for short-term results over the focus on the long-term results is a question of value. Of course, I understand that every company have to produce short-term results, but in any conflict between short-term results and long-term growth, each company needs to determine its own priorities, and this is based on a fundamental value. So, organizations like people have values, and to be effective in any organization, a person's values must be compatible with the organization's values. It's not that they must be the same, but it needs to be close enough to be a match. So rule number 4 is, as a person or as an organization, you need to know your values. To summarize, always bet on your strengths, practice the method of feedback analysis, master the 3 actions, and as a person and as an organization, you need to know your values. Thank you for watching, and as always, get your ass into action.